Hello and good morning, confidence community. This is challenging employee discussions for nurse leaders. I'm Amy Colombo, confidence coach for nurse coaches, an EFT practitioner, and a single mother to 3 boys. How are you all doing today on this Friday morning? Full freedom to have a conversation in the chat as well as drop any questions that you have. I know that as nurse coaches, a lot of you are in leadership in your nursing positions, whether you're a manager or a director or even a CEO. And challenging employee discussions is always and forever going to be something that I know you want to learn more about. Communicating is so important in every area of life. And the power that you hold really is in taking these difficult conversations and reframing them for the employee as their greatest opportunities for growth. And that's what we're going to get into today. Colin Dobbs, communication is a team sport. We have to think of being on a team. What is my role? What is my position? What is their role? What is their position? And what are our shared goals in this team sport on this nursing unit or nursing hospital, whatever it is you are in charge of? Communication is not just saying what needs to be said and getting your message across. It is actually way more listening, active listening. The things that you are dealing with and some of the things that we're going to talk to today and having these difficult employee discussions are addressing performance issues, managing interpersonal conflicts, and providing constructive feedback. You want to approach these conversations with empathy, clarity, and a focus on collaborative problem solving. Remember, communication is a team sport. You are on the same team with your employee. How many of you are going into the conversation feeling like you're on the opposite team, feeling like you are the bad guy or worried about how they're going to perceive you or think of you as the bad guy? I know this all too well. When I was a nurse for over 20 years at a rehabilitation hospital, my last 8 years were in management, and I managed over 100 employees. That's a lot of employees. I did so much hiring, disciplinary action forms, warnings, conflicts on the unit. I mean, this was an everyday thing. I supervised the hospital at night as well as these over 100 employees directly reported to me. Even the phlebotomy team were my direct reports. So it wasn't just nurses that I was managing and accountable for. It was all different staff in the hospital. And wow, did I have to have some difficult conversations. And I worked hand in hand with human resources. I worked hand in hand with my director, and I learned so much. But I want to tell you, I never saw such a big shift in my conversations with my employees as to the very end when I went to coaching school. So just know that if you have already graduated from the Collective or Inca, whatever coaching school that you are in, you have all the tools that you need to shift these conversations and to leave the employee feeling empowered. Because coaching skills, coaching tools are actually the thing that I'm going to bring in today. And this really changed the game in my nursing management. And I know it can change the game for yours as well. So I have a very simple 5-step process for entering these conversations. And the 5 steps are: how are you feeling? Okay, emotion set. How are you thinking? Your mindset. Who are you being? Your core values as a nurse leader, a nurse manager, a nurse director. 4, who are they? What are their core values? And 5, what is the highest level goal for this conversation? Those are the 5 steps that I'm going to walk you through. And these 5 steps are going to work in any difficult conversation that you could have with any employee. The good news here is that most of the work is in your hands in the before the conversation. There is so much that you can actually do to bring on a result in this conversation. And what I want to share with you, and this is big in coaching, if you've ever heard of the circle of control, there's a circle of control. Then right outside of that is the circle of influence. And outside of that is what we don't control. Okay. And the reason why you're nervous and you're scared, like my client was 2 weeks ago in a group session, she actually had to have a conversation with an employee about her attendance, which is what inspired this talk. Okay. She was 100% focused on what was out of her control. It was all about, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? And even more, she was personalizing it. What are they going to think about me? What is she going to say about me? What is she going to say to the other employees on the unit about me? And is she going to shift everyone's mindset about me? So just know that if that's where you're focused, that's what's out of your control. The circle of control is who you're being, how you're thinking, what you decide to say, do, and act, and how you respond. And when you focus on those things, you have a circle of influence. So no, you cannot control what they think, what they say, what they do, but you do have an influence on it when you focus on what is within your control. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so first of all, how are you feeling? Getting really clear on your fear. You are human. The first thing I said to my client was, you're human. Let's have some compassion for that. It's okay to be scared to go into these conversations. It's okay to have lots of thoughts and feelings and emotions around them. And just know that that is within your hands, and that is a cleanup job for you. The most important thing that you can do in this conversation with the employee is bring safety into it. And how are you going to bring safety in? By being safe in your own body, by creating that within yourself, whatever your tools are. I bring in EFT tapping. You can journal, you can deep breathe. You need to acknowledge the fears and the thoughts and the doubts. When we are transforming to become our most confident self, we are not pretending that we're not human and we don't have fears and we don't have doubts and we don't have dreads. We have them. We are actually transforming them and using them as fuel. So coming home to your own emotion set and processing your own emotions before the conversation, normalizing them, having compassion for yourself first. Number 2, mindset. How are you framing? What are your thoughts about this conversation? Like my client's thoughts were, oh my God, what is she going to think? What is she going to say? What is she going to tell everybody? It was all on what is out of her control, but we want to shift the mindset and the thoughts as to this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for what? For me to connect with my employee, for me to actively listen and find out what is going on with her, with him, for them to see something from a different perspective, for them to talk this out and understand more deeply what's happening with them. It's an opportunity for them and for me. So we want to reframe the mindset and not look at it as, oh my God, I have to do this. I hate this. This is the worst part of my job. I wish I never had to do that. Letting those grievances come up and knowing that those are only thoughts and you have the power to shift those thoughts. And it is in highest service to you and your employees to shift those thoughts, because whether you like it or not, this is a really big part of your job. Having these difficult conversations, helping people to rise up to their own challenges, to break barriers, and to grow. Number 3, who are you being? My client completely forgot who she is. She's a nurse manager. She's a nurse leader. You're a nurse manager. You're a nurse leader. What are your core values as a nurse leader? And when I asked her that, she came up with being approachable, being strong. So being sturdy, being strong. I know when I was a nurse manager, I wanted to be that lighthouse on the unit. I wanted to be that sturdy, strong, human, authentic lighthouse. I wanted everyone to know that they could come to me with anything, approachability. And people knew I meant business. So I was approachable, but being consistent and holding people accountable and to a higher standard is your job. And that's what's going to help people rise and grow. So get clear. Who are you? I can't tell you, my client was forgetting who she was in this. She was so focused on the fears of what the outcome of this conversation was going to be. It was all about a worst case scenario that she forgot who she was. She's a sturdy, strong, amazing, compassionate, empathetic, kind leader. And you need to be clear on who you are, not be swayed from that based on their reaction, what they might say, what they might think. Number 4, who are they? This is when, from a place of now that you've processed your own fear and your own emotions, you've decided you're going to shift the mindset, you've gotten clear on your core values. Every one of these employees is your employees, whether you like them or not. And to be clear, you don't have to like all of your employees. Like is personal and conditional. However, you are held to a professional standard to manage, to direct, to lead every one of these employees. And that means having these difficult conversations. That means showing up loving, sturdy, strong, and giving them the space and the opportunity to be their highest and best, even when their behavior is not their highest and best. So be careful as to, are you judging them? Are you labeling them based on this behavior? And a lot of us, and I say us because I definitely did this, we label our employees. And the hospital that I worked in, that I don't work in anymore, we had to label our employees. We had to grade them A, B, and C. And looking back on that, we just do what the organization wants us to do. And looking back on that, I realized that that is not an effective strategy, because when we label someone, when we give someone a label, our brain tends to confirm that bias. So if I label an employee as bad, or a C level or a D level or an F level employee, my brain will start to confirm that more and more and more, almost like as if we are looking for that. Are you labeling? Are you judging your employee? And from a place of loving curiosity, step out of that. What is their highest and best? Who are they? What are their core values? Your nurses, your nursing assistants, your phlebotomy team, your unit secretaries, your ancillary staff, they all have a set of core values that they operate from. And generally, I think we can generalize and we can discriminate with a positive intent that almost all nurses, nursing assistants, people that are in healthcare are generally kind, loving, compassionate human beings that have a common goal that they want to help people. It's simple. It's not complicated. So when we step into their shoes and we see them as such, we are seeing them. We're seeing and we're hearing them, their identity, their humanness. We're not labeling them for this behavior, which for my client last week was her poor attendance, her calling out all the time, her coming in late all the time. The employee was getting labeled. And that is common and that is human. And just being aware of that, stepping out of that, and coming back to a place of curiosity and non-judgment is essential here. Number 5, most importantly, what is the highest level goal for this conversation? What is the highest level goal for this conversation? Get clear on that goal. Know how you want your employee to leave your office after that conversation. And for me, in the end, after I became the coach, the word was empowered. I want them to leave my office feeling empowered. And what was I bringing them in for? Medication errors, attendance issues, conflicts on the unit, nurses and nursing assistants fighting, all the things we deal with at the management level, poor performance issues, patient complaints. So here I am bringing them into my office for these conversations. And my mind, my body, my energy is, I'm going to use this as their greatest learning opportunity. And that is palpable when they walk in the office. The old manager me, before I became a coach, used to think of, let's get to the root cause. Whose fault is it? And what are they going to do differently next time? There was an energy of blame and shame and don't do that again. How are you never going to do this again? And it's not the words. communication is only 7% of what we say. 7%. 38% is how we say it. How I'm saying it is with this judgment or this blame or this shame or like you did something wrong. That is 38% of what they're feeling and walking away with. So, what is the highest level goal for this conversation? How do you want them to feel, to think when they leave? I want them to feel empowered. I want them to leave thinking of what they can do next to turn this around. Essentially, what they do next is their responsibility. Setting yourself up for the conversation, getting yourself safe and secure in your own body, switching your mindset around how you're perceiving this issue, them, and your role and your job in it. Knowing your core values as a nurse leader is essential. Knowing who they are at their highest and best, not labeling them from this behavior is also essential. And then what is the highest level goal for this conversation? And then go. This does not have to be a long conversation. This can be short. You can even schedule something in a 15 or 20-minute time span so that you keep the conversation managed. And most importantly, when they come in, we don't want to completely eradicate emotions here. Allow emotions, which means you can address it first. And something that I used to do whenever I would call an employee into my office because they inevitably knew what they were being called in for, whether there was a med error or an attendance issue, they would come in and they would kind of be like this, almost like a kid at school in trouble. And what you can do is you can actually say, hey, I get it. There are big emotions here. Let's just start off by taking a deep breath together. I want you to know that my goal for this conversation is for you to leave fully empowered. Mistakes are your greatest learning opportunities in life, and they're no different here in your job. Yes, you made a mistake, and there's an amazing learning opportunity here for you. And I want to really focus there and have you walk away with that. Let me tell you, when I started saying that to my nurses, their body felt that, received that, because I would literally see their shoulders drop. It was the most amazing thing. I couldn't believe how just by saying that one sentence, the second they walked into my office versus what I would do before, which was like, sit down, let's talk about this, right? Made all the difference in the world. And then this is a dialogue, not a monologue. And active listening is one of the most important skills that you're going to bring into this conversation. You're going to see and hear them, and you can validate what you see, what you heard. For employees that get highly emotional and start defending themselves, because I definitely had employees that did that, I would just tell them to say, hey, just take a deep breath here. There's nothing for you to defend. This is a conversation. I'm really curious what's going on that you've been absent, and you want to bring in a data-driven point that you can both agree on. Something data-driven. I want to know what's been going on with you because you've been absent. You've called out 5 times in the last month. And that is a change for you. That is something that I noticed, and I'm just really curious what's going on. This gives them an opportunity to share with you, especially when you're noticing a big shift in an employee's behavior or performance. You want to get curious about it. You want to hear what's going on. It does not change the outcome. It does not change the fact that they are getting written up in that moment. It does not change the fact that they're getting a verbal warning in that moment. The consequences for specific things, especially like attendance and tardiness, that are very much data driven and clocked, and they're the math, right? There's the math, there's the facts, there's the data, and then there's what we think and what we make mean about it. And that's everything that's going on in our heads. But it's very mathematical. It's very data driven. They know. And you want to bring in that data-driven point that they know. They may not have even realized that it's been to that extent. They may say, oh, wow, has it been 5 times? Or, yeah, I know. Or they may get into like a big story about why. And again, you want to just validate their feelings. Oh, wow. Okay. I hear you. That sounds like you're going through something at home. That sounds challenging. That sounds overwhelming. You are validating the feelings, not the fact that it's okay, like that's a defense and now it's all okay. No, you're seeing them, you're hearing them as a human in that moment. And you can validate what you're seeing and hearing, which are the feelings underneath what's happening for them. And then want to go ahead and share what the impact has been. So if it's something like they've been absent for 5 times in the last month, you want to share, well, we're all here. This is where their core values come into play. We're all here because we want to help people at our core. And I know that that's why you're here, because you have a passion to help people that are healing, that are sick. And you also have a family to provide for. We're also all here because we have families to provide for. Work provides so much for us as individuals. And the most important thing for all of us while we're at work is patient safety and staff safety. Again, simple. You calling out the last 5 times has had a negative impact on both. And I want to share that with you. And moving forward, I want to know how you're going to turn this around. I want to know how you can make a change here. Because, and this is where you can even offer them something that you see in them. Remember a couple of months ago when we were struggling with XYZ and you made that change and it had a really positive impact on the unit? I know that you're really resourceful and capable of making a change here, even though it's challenging, even though it's overwhelming. What are some of the things that you plan on doing? And let them talk it out there, because they may be so stuck in their own mind that, this is just a situation that is out of their control and there's nothing that they can do. But just reminding someone gently that they're more powerful than they think, that you believe in them, that they've gotten through a situation that was sticky or stucky or hard before, can really change the game. This is when you bring in your coaching skills. And then if there's anything that you want to offer, you can go ahead and offer it. Well, do you want to know what employees have done in the past that have had the same issue? I'd like to share with you. It's interesting because doing this talk for you all made me think I had many issues personally as an employee that my managers had to talk to me about. And one of them was calling out. When I became a new mom, I started calling out a lot. And I was of the mindset that every time my child is sick, I need to call out because I'm the mother and I need to be home with my child when they're sick. And my boss at the time, my manager, gently said, "Hey, Aim, what's most important to you?" And I was like, "I have to feed my family. I need my job. I have to feed my family, but I have to be there for my kids. I have to take care of them when they're sick." And he just said, he was like, "I know that you have a husband that stays home during the week and works on weekends, and you could let him take care of the kids." And I was like, "No, I need to take care of the kids because I'm the mother." And he was like, "Eam, well, what I heard you say was that taking care of your kids is what's most important to you. And how are you going to take care of your kids if you don't have a job because you're calling out so much?" When he said that to me, I was like, literally, I could feel it in my body now. Like it did something to me. It shifted because I was so stuck on that thought that I had to call out when my kids were sick because I'm the mother. And he just gently actually showed me how I was misaligned with my own core values, that if taking care of my kids are my top priority, how the hell am I going to take care of them without a job? I shifted everything in that moment. So just know that your employees may be a little bit more blocked in their own mindset than they even know. And by you being brave and gently showing them what's hidden from them could change everything for them in that moment. Just like telling your employee, "Hey, remember when you turned that around a couple months ago? I know that you have this within you, even when it's hard." Holding emotions, validating emotions, while believing in someone, believing in their highest and best, that they can when they believe they can't, that there is a way when they don't see a way, is everything. It's not your job to solve the problem for them. It is your job to be who you are, be that sturdy leader, to shine a light on the situation and hold them responsible and accountable, and then let them go. Okay, how you're going to end the conversation is by having them summarize. So just summarize for me, what are the things that you're going to do moving forward to turn this around? That's great. And then if there's anything that you're going to do as the manager to help them, you summarize that. And then go ahead and schedule a proactive 10-minute check-in with them. I can't tell you how good this is, because then you let them go in love and in belief that they're going to do what they said they're going to do. You're not going to micromanage them. You're not going to mistrust them and be constantly on the lookout. You're going to believe in them in that moment, and you're going to set a check-in meeting for them, officially put it on the calendar, send them an email invite, and then you're going to have that check-in so that you don't have to worry about it, but that they know that that check-in is coming. So that is another added support system for them to hold them accountable to those action steps that they are responsible for. Because as we all know, as coaches, action can be the thing that we tend to just let fall by the wayside. So holding them accountable with that proactive check-in is so great, because the first conversation was created through their performance issue. And then the next conversation is going to be that opportunity for them to come and create those dots to show them their progress, for them to even share their progress. Or maybe their performance issue continues, and then you're keeping on top of it, which is your responsibility as the nurse leader and the nurse manager to the unit and to the organization. So it's a win-win for everybody. But I can't tell you that when you do this, when you have these little short check-in meetings scheduled, and not just leave it open, like, okay, let's check in another month. Like, yeah, I'm going to see you on the unit. No, make it official. When we make things official, there's a level of importance, there's an energy to it. It means it's important to you, you're taking the time for them, and it's a proactive, celebratory check-in for you to track their growth. And you state it as such, like growth check-in, progress check-in on attendance. And you can even label it that and send it to them. Remember, words, how we frame things in our minds, create an energy, create a whole mindset. They are our beliefs, and they are important. So when you create it as a growth or progress check-in, that's everything. To summarize one more time, the 5 steps to having these important conversations, these challenging conversations with your employees are you. It's all about you in the beginning. How are you feeling? How are you thinking? Shifting your mindset about this conversation. Who are you being? Getting clear on your core values, and that you don't have to personally like every employee, but you do have to professionally lead, guide, manage, be the leader to that employee. Not labeling them for how they're behaving, getting clear as to who they are, stepping in their shoes, getting clear on their highest and best core values, and speaking to that individual about the performance issue or the bad behavior. Remember, who they are as an individual is separate from their behavior, and that's big. And number 5, what is the highest level goal for the conversation? I want them to leave empowered. I'm curious. I'm ready to come together with whoever they're fighting with on the unit. I want them to feel like it is their responsibility to fix this. Just getting clear on that highest level goal in the beginning and letting them know that they matter to you, that the unit matters to you, that you have a global view, but they as an individual also matter to you. And going into the conversation with non-judgment, curiosity, and active listening is everything here. I worked hand in hand with so many different leaders in the hospital, and I saw different styles of communication. And the greatest communicator in my hospital was a director. I'll never forget. I'm just going to share the crazy personal story. I had gone to a company party and gotten drunk, like really drunk, and made out with a guy at the bar in front of the whole damn hospital, in front of my boss, my boss's boss, and my boss's boss's boss. And it was the shamiest thing that I had ever done in my entire nursing career. It was embarrassing. I got written up with like a warning. If I ever do that again, I'll be terminated. I was so grateful to not be terminated. I was doing my rounds of apologies to the nurse leaders that I had told to like F off because they were like trying to get me to leave or it was crazy. It was crazy. I was not myself. I was so drunk that I behaved like somebody else. And these people were trying to help me. And I was like, you belligerent. My director, I went and apologized to him. And the way he spoke to me just did something inside of me. He actually saw me and the behavior as separate. And he even said, he's like, listen, Aim, he was like, you kissed a boy, right? He even kind of lightened it. And if we were like hanging out on a Saturday, that would be great. And we'd be cheering you on. But it was a company function. And now it does need to be written up. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want you fired, but it's out of my hands. It's with corporate. Whatever happens, like happens from here. He had this conversation with me that made me reflect in this different kind of a way. It pulled me out of my shame. And I thanked him for that conversation. And he didn't lie to me. He just spoke to me in this way where he saw me and the years of service and who I was before that shameful moment. And that changed everything for me. So I'm telling you, if you do this little 5-step process, these conversations have the power and capacity to shift everything for an employee. And that's who you are as a nurse leader. So with that said, I just want to leave you all with, if this spoke to you, if this resonated with you, what I do for nurses and nurse coaches is I help you transform your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. I help you take all of that and masterfully transform it into your confidence, your courage, and your emotional freedom so that you can be the brightest, biggest leader and light out there in your coaching business, out there in your nursing shoes, because you have a right to be heard, to be seen. You have a mission to help others. And the only way that you're going to do that is by stepping into the most powerful version of who you truly are. And that is what I do in my coaching container. And if that speaks to you, I want you to jump on a clarity call with me. I have 2 spots in my one-to-one, 6-month one-to-one container starting in April. And I'm going to be soon early bird launching the next round of my group Confidence Through Emotional Mastery for nurse coaches. Very soon, around the beginning of April, I'm going to be launching that as well. But you can get on a call with me now and we can decide which container is best for you and get you in there now so that you can set it and forget it and just know that the biggest, brightest, most courageous, confident version of you, she's going to emerge from this process. Have an amazing day, everyone. Leave your comments or questions in the chat. I'll be checking.